This is episode 95 of The Place of Sound, and I'm your host, Kateryna Kalynovska. For those of you who are listening to us for the first time, The Place of Sound is a show that explores the themes of space and place using sound and listening. This is done through a variety of audio media production formats, so you can expect to do a few different types of listening in a single show. Episodes consist of what we refer to as audio portraits or oral history-style interviews that explore topic of home, soundscape compositions, which use everyday sounds to communicate the personal and social significance of a given place, and we typically end the episode with a short documentary-style piece that explores the place-based identity of the producer. The aim with these projects is to allow the producer to think about the places that made them who they are today. These are the types of projects you can expect to hear on The Place of Sound, and all of them are produced by students here at Carleton University. They're what gets produced in COMS 4501 Digital Media Production, which is a fourth-year workshop course in the Communication and Media Studies program. Fall semester has just started, and campus is buzzing again with life. After a summer full of quiet hallways and empty classrooms, it feels almost overwhelming to see the crowds back. Students with coffee cups, arms full of books, rushing between classes. I'll admit, I got used to having the campus all to myself over the summer. But there is something energizing about this return. It reminds me that we're all here together, grinding through our studies, building something for the future. And as students return to campus, we're back here too, sharing more student audio work. Each semester brings its own set of voices, stories, and perspectives. And this episode is no exception. First, we'll hear an audio portrait by Sam Millette, who sat down with his grandmother to reflect on family, love, and the heartbreaking loss of his cousin Patrick. It's a piece that mixes everyday memories with grief, showing how fragile and precious those small moments could be. Then we'll move into Rosemary Robillard's soundscape, Muscle Memory, which explores how absence lingers in daily routine. Through the repetition of ordinary sounds, Rosemary captures the ache of love and loss and how grief can live quietly in the background of our lives. Finally, we'll close with Reid's documentary on Octopus Books, an independent bookstore in Ottawa. Through her conversation with event coordinator Greg Cameron, we learn about the challenges indie bookstores face and the community they sustain despite the pressures of big box retailers and online giants. Three very different projects, but together they remind us that sound can hold memory, grief, and resilience all at once. Over to you, Sam.
My name is Sam Millette, and I'm a fourth-year student in the Communications and Media Studies program at Carleton University. This audio portrait is of my grandmother, who I had a great conversation with about her life and what it means to be a mother and a grandmother, and I was able to get a great story from her about my cousin and her grandson Patrick, who tragically passed in 2022. I hope you enjoy.
With grandchildren, I've always felt it gives you a second chance in life when you're not as busy, not as concerned with, things that need to be done, and so you just relax and thoroughly enjoy them. It's a difficult line to cross in the sense that you want your kids to have freedom and explore and so on. But there's this mère poule, which like a mother-hen type of thing, that, you just want to protect them. But when you're going through it the first time, raising children is you learn as you go. I just think there's things if you can go back, you would have done differently. But I can't think of anyone who at some point might not say, gee, I wish I had done this instead of that. And then after having lost Patrick, there was a tie broken there. And I have had quite a lot of loss in my life, but never a child. And I don't think there's a measurable way to know how that would affect someone. There just isn't, because I know how it affected me and the rest of the family, but with them, it was their child. And then when he got here, it was a blessing. I as I often do when I know someone's coming, I unlock the door because I know they're coming. And I was towards the door, and then I saw the car, and I thought, what's he doing? And he was backing up. And I said, when he came in, I said, Patrick, you backed up. And he said, well, that's the safest way, Grandma. Then you can see when you're leaving. And I said to him, I don't back up into spots, you know? And he laughed. And then we spent that whole day together. We had lunch together, and I think we played a game of Yahtzee or two. And then as he was leaving, and he put on his coat, and he had a real nice jacket on, like it was a kind of a cloth thing. And I didn't say anything, but it struck me. I said, he looks like a young man. And then he went and got in the car, and I was going to go and call out to him and say something, but as he went, he did a shoulder check, and he looked up, and I thought, no, if I call out, I'll distract him. So I didn't. And those images are forever with me, you know? I had that day. And what I wanted to see, what we started, you know, just as a couple, then having children, it doesn't come to a dead stop. It continues, you know?
What I felt most in Sam's audio portrait was the weight of the grief. To lose a grandchild, I can't begin to imagine how painful that must be. I don't have children of my own yet, but even from the outside, it's clear that kind of loss cuts in a way that's almost impossible to put into words. At the same time, I found it moving to hear the story of Patrick's visit. The details of that day, the small ordinary moments that became so unforgettable. It's a reminder that grief and love live side by side, and that even when we lose someone, the time we had with them still shines through. It's a piece that stays with you, because it's not just sorrow, it's also memory, care, and the unspoken wish that fewer people ever have to face that kind of loss. From the heaviness of personal grief, we move now into a different kind of absence, one carried in routine. Rosemary Robillard's soundscape muscle memory explores how love and loss leave their mark in everyday sounds, a phone ringing, footsteps, the rituals we repeat almost without thinking. It's about how those ordinary sounds can echo with the presence of someone who's no longer there. Take it away, Rosemary.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Robillard. Muscle Memory is a soundscape composition about absence in routine, and it explores how love and loss intertwine through everyday sounds.
You've reached the voicemail of Madeline Robillard. If you could please leave your name, number, and message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye.
I know she'd never pick up, but it's still nice to hear her voice. even if it's just a voicemail. Sometimes I dream of her, and it's a beautiful thing, but waking up is always difficult. On those days, I tend to distract myself. Despite feeling like a chore, I'll do all the things to take care of myself. I'll try and focus on the sounds around me to drown out the noise. It's weird how automatic everything feels now, like muscle memory. Wake up, brush my teeth, get dressed like nothing's different. But some mornings, I swear I still hear you moving around. It's like you're just in the next room, still here. On these days, I'm more aware of the things that remind me of you. I feel like I never really got over the stage of bargaining, but I just try and be gentle. I still call you. I know it's silly, but it helps.
Rosemary's soundscape left me speechless. It captures how grief seeps into the smallest routines: brushing your teeth, heating up the food, even the sound of a voicemail. What struck me most is how those ordinary moments become the reminders of someone who's no longer there. As a Ukrainian, I can't help but think how fragile life feels right now, and how many people in my country are losing loved ones every single day. That fear is always present, and it makes listening to a piece like this even more powerful. Rose, if you're listening to this, I want you to know it's not silly what you're doing. We all cope with grief in our own ways, and the way you turned that coping into sound feels like such an act of quiet strength. Thank you. From loss and memory, we now move into a story about community. In her audio documentary, Reid takes us inside Octopus Books, an independent bookstore in Ottawa that has become more than just a shop. It's a space of resistance, connection, and care, showing how even small local businesses can hold a community together in the face of big challenges. It's a space of resistance, connection, and care, showing how even small local businesses can hold a community together in the face of big challenges.
Hi, my name is Caitlin. I'm in my fourth and final year in the Communication and Media Studies program at Carleton University. This audio documentary was a project done in my digital media production class, but I hope you'll enjoy it too. In this audio, you'll be following both the challenges and triumphs of independent bookstore Octopus Books. The voice narrating the piece will be mine, accompanied by an interview with Greg Cameron, events coordinator at Octopus Books. Listen here as I bring you into the world of this indie bookstore.
There are people that come in, I mean, they'll even just take pictures of the book and then leave. Like we're just like the display for Amazon or something.
There you'll have heard Greg Cameron.
I'm primarily the events coordinator at Octopus Book. I've also done some other jobs at my time here over the last 5 years, including ordering course books. Profs would used to order course books through us. And I sometimes work downstairs as well, selling books and dealing with customers.
Trimmed in green with a vibrant mural on its side, Octopus Books is nestled between two buildings in the heart of the Glebe. With doors opening in 1969 as Octopus Books, this independent bookstore is now officially called New Octopus Bookstore Incorporated. To its patrons, however, you'll hear only Octopus Books or an affectionate octopus. Fostering a sense of community and connection through the Octopus Books Reading Club and regular book launches and author talks, Octopus Books is invested in promoting conversations and the exchange of ideas through literature, striving for liberation for all community members. This quaint little bookstore has flourished in the last few years, but it hasn't always been easy.
The biggest challenge for any indie bookstore, I guess, is just surviving in the current climate. We have all these competitors, the big box competitors, but also a lot of online competitors, and they've got the ability to really discount heavily the books that they sell because they've got volumes and et cetera, whereas we've got very small space. We've got sort of 2 copies of each book maybe, so it is a challenge to keep up.
Competition comes in the form of large-scale book retailers. Indigo Chapters Coles, the result of decades of acquisitions, is a Canadian-based mainstream chain that maintains a monopoly on retail bookstores. Established in 1996, 1995, and 1940, respectively, they are now a household name. Amazon Books, while global in reach, also dominates in Canada, generating around $28 billion worldwide annually from book sales. Established in 1995, it has since ballooned. This can cause issues for independent bookstores, with an eye for ethical considerations, when paired against companies like Amazon. The exploitative labor and environmental practices that define Amazon allow for lower prices, creating stark competition and comparisons. I can just get it on Amazon. How do independent bookstores persevere in the face of such competition? This perseverance is not only seen in foot traffic and sales, of which there's plenty.
I think the big difference for an indie bookstore versus like a big box bookstore is that we get to really specifically choose what kind of books we want to order in. And here at Octopus, we have a very progressive bent to the books that we order. We have a very small space, so we can't have, the top 100 books and stacks of them like they would if you went into a big box. So I really enjoy that we represent voices that aren't usually given as much space in mainstream, not just mainstream bookstores, but mainstream society. So we're really proud to be able to help platform these stories that people tell about themselves and their cultures and their perspectives. You don't always get to hear every day in the media or in your day-to-day life. So I find it really fulfilling to connect readers with books that expand their horizons or help reflect, the way they see themselves in the world and they don't find everywhere.
This perseverance is also characterized by the sense of community and connection that Octopus Books fosters. The Octopus Books Reading Club meets monthly.
So we do have a monthly book club, and the idea behind that is instead of traditional book club where everybody's got to read the same book. You get together, you talk about it. In this one, it's more about discovering books. And so people will, bring a book that they've read recently or they're in the middle of reading, and we'll sit around and we'll just discuss it. We'll, this is a great book. Here's why. This book I was disappointed by. Here's why. And it's just a general conversation about the books and about the ideas in them. So it gets people excited to find new things to read, or often just someone will bring up an idea in the book and it'll just become a conversation about that topic. So not necessarily about the book anymore.
Book launches are a regular fixture. Author meetings and author talks abound. Book signings are a common sight, too.
The events that we hold, we tend to either reach out to authors that we're interested in promoting to our community, or they or their publicists will reach out to us. And usually it's because they can sense or they know that there's a bond between what they're doing and our vision and our mission, our goals. And so generally we're going to have local authors. We have authors that'll come in who are traveling from out of town, and they've got progressive ideas and books to share. And so they have sort of looked at the landscape, or they've talked to friends in Ottawa, and they're like, no, Octopus is the place to hold this conversation, this launch.
They even offer a book fair that connects with a number of Ottawa schools in the area.
And from there, it's kind of branched out because librarians talk to librarians and they say, hey, here's a way you can get books that aren't just scholastic. It's a broader selection. It's better quality. It's not as much sort of junk toys, which if you recall, I don't know if you ever had the book fair at your school, but a lot of kids just go to buy the silly erasers or whatever. So we've got... So I think the teachers and librarians really are very happy that we've got a good selection. They're supporting local, and I think it demonstrates to the kids that, here's something in your community, and that's important to build community. And it's a good lesson to grow up with, I think. And we can better reflect, I think, the communities that they're living in with the choice of books we bring. We can be tailored. It's not just going to come off the back of a truck from Scholastic, right? We put some thought into it.
The future is bright.
Yeah, I think people should support all local businesses. If you want to keep, especially in the Glebe, for instance, if you want to have a community feel, which is what draws people to the Glebe, of little shops that specialize in one thing rather than a giant Walmart that just has everything. If you want a walkable street or bikeable street and the benefits that gives, then people have to support local businesses. And when it comes particularly to independent bookstores, I think it's important because it's a connecting place in the community for ideas and thoughts and knowledge. And if that sort of thing disappears, then it's a big gaping hole in the soul of a community, I think.
That was such an interesting listen. I have to admit, I still haven't been to Octopus Books myself. I tend to favor Black Squirrel because it's closer to where I live on Bank Street. But after hearing this piece, I know I need to make the trip. As someone who loves books, the idea of a space that not only sells them but also creates community through book clubs and other events feels really special. I also completely agree with Greg's point about the importance of supporting local bookstores. It's heartbreaking to think about how independent shops get pushed aside by big chains. When everything gets swallowed up by Walmarts, Starbucks, and Indigo stores, we lose the variety and the creativity that make a city feel alive. Bookstores, cafes, record shops, they're more than just businesses. They're places where people gather, discover something new, and connect with each other. Listening to this documentary made me realize how fragile that ecosystem really is, and how much it depends on people making a choice to show up, to buy local, and to keep these spaces going. Because without them, Ottawa risks becoming just another copy-paste city, when it could be so much more vibrant and unique. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Big thanks to Sam, Rosemary, and Caitlin for sharing such powerful work. From family memory to grief and routine, to the resilience of a neighborhood bookstore. You're listening and thinking that you'd like to share your own work with the Place of Sound? We'd love to hear from you. Whether you're a student, a sound enthusiast, or just someone curious about experimenting with audio, the door is always open. You can find the submission form on our Instagram page or head to theplaceofsound.ca and click the button Get Involved. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Until next time, keep listening closely. You never know what stories the world around you might be telling. See ya. Bye.